Hello, I'm James Bailey, the Communications Manager at Dunlop UK, and we're here today at the heart of our English manufacturing facility, the Fort Dunlop factory in Birmingham, where we make 250,000 Dunlop motorsport tyres every year. These are tyres that are used in a variety of different championships, ranging from the High Q British Touring Car Championship, the DTM German Touring Car Championship, and also, most importantly of all, the Dutch Supercar Challenge. And today we're going to take you on a tour of the factory. We're going to see the various stages in building Dunlop racing tyre, ranging from the raw materials, the secret ingredients that go into mixing the compound, and then the building of a tyre. 2 stages of a manufacturing process, building the carcass and then building the finished tyre, which then is moulded and cured to make a Dunlop motorsport tyre fit to race in the Dutch Supercar Challenge. The first stage in making a Dunlop race tyre is to actually mix the materials together to form the compound. To do that, we mix together natural rubber, synthetic rubber, and a cocktail of other exotic materials that are then fed into a mixing machine to create the compound. That can include materials such as natural rubber, black natural rubber from our plantations that we have around the world, and that's mixed together with exotic synthetic rubber, and various different grades and versions of this come together with our other materials to form the compound. It's not just the synthetic rubber and the natural rubber that makes up the compound of the tyre. There's a whole mixture of other secret ingredients that go into there. Each one of these hoppers contains an ingredient, but a little bit like Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper. Unfortunately, we can't tell you what's in there. That's our secret recipe. But these chemicals and these ingredients are mixed into the compound, which then goes through into the construction of the tyre. This is the beginning of the mixing process. Here we're seeing some compound that's already been mixed coming through for a second stage of mixing. But this is the point where, on these scales, to make 100 kilos of racing compound, the recipe will include a certain percentage of pre-mixed compound, but then including some of the other secret ingredients that we looked at earlier. So we're now at the end of the mixing stage, and what we have is a range of compounds. They all look the same, but they're very different in terms of the texture. This one is very soft. You see over here, this is a much more rigid, inflexible compound. You've got a vast range of different compounds made up of the ingredients that we've just seen, and then these go through to be cut into shape to make a tyre. What we're looking at now is the extruding machine. Extruding is the process of actually taking the rubber compound and turning it into the various components, the various shapes of rubber compound that are needed for the production of the tyre. These can be sidewalls or components used in the tyre, or in this case, rubber compound that's been cut into the tread face of the tyre. A tyre isn't just rubber compound. There's many other materials in there: steel, Kevlar, but most importantly of all, the cord, which can be made up of nylon and rayon and other materials. So you've got this giant sewing machine, which is winding together the cord, and then it's fed into the calendering machine. Calendering is the process of coating this cord with rubber that then enables it to be part of the curing and the moulding process and form the construction of the tyre later on. Okay, well this is the first stage of tyre building. We've now got all the components. We have the compound, we have the extruded materials, and we have the plies. This machine and this operator are bringing all of those elements together. So the first part of the tyre to go on is actually the inner liner. This is basically the part of the tyre that keeps the air in. It's the bit that when you look on the inside of the tyre, it's the part of the tyre that you'll be able to see. Using the laser-guided guides above him is cutting these accurately to shape, but it's still very much a laborious, labour-intensive process. The next stage going on is the first ply of the tyre. This particular tyre has 2 plies, and the ply is made up of rubber compound but also calendered material, and that gives the basic strength and construction to the tyre. The machine now closes together, and that construction of the tyre is fitted around the beads. The steel beads are the part of the tyre that seals against the alloy wheel rim. And then there's other elements of the construction of the tyre that have to be added to it. And there's an infinite number of possibilities when it comes to the design of the tyre. There's thin strips like the beads or the apex of the tyre, which, depending on the construction of those, the thickness of those, the materials used in those, it can dramatically affect the handling and the steering characteristics of the tyre, giving the precision that racing drivers demand. Is the feedback that comes from the drivers, from the engineers, which allows us to make these detailed changes to the construction of the tyre and give the handling that the drivers and the teams require. So this first stage process has given us the carcass of the tyre. The elements within this, the apexes, the chafers, the beads, these are the things that create the handling characteristics of the car. Now we're going to move across to the second stage and add the things that give the grip. The rubber compound and the tread compound will be added to this carcass. We're now at the second stage of tyre building. The carcass, which is made up of the plies and the breakers and the inner liner and the beads, is now being applied onto the second stage machine. This is the bit really where we add the parts of the tyre that are going to be in contact with the road, the sidewalls, the tread face of the tyre. So in a moment we'll see the tread coming down off the machine to be applied onto it. The tyre will be inflated to give it its correct shape. The tread will be applied to it, and the end result from this is something that's going to look very much like a tyre, apart from the lack of mouldings and tread pattern on it. The Dunlop racing tyre has now been through both stages of the tyre building process. The first stage of building the carcass and the second stage of adding on the rubber compound and the tread pattern here. The next stage is to turn it into a tyre, to mould it. Over here we've got a mould. This particular mould is for a historic racing tyre, so you can actually see the tread pattern inside the mould. If it was a touring car tyre, it would be a slick tyre, so you wouldn't see that, but it would still be the point that the words Dunlop and the size of the tyre will be put onto the sidewall. But this is it's like baking a cake, it's the recipe. However, how long we put it in the mould and the temperature that we mould it at is critical to the end product. In this particular case, this tyre is going to be cooked to 166 degrees for about 30 minutes. And the end product will be a racing tyre that, after quality inspection, is ready to hit the racetrack.